Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Malika Arya, Associate Manager, Social Media at IndiaIT360, and I'm delighted to welcome you all today in today's exclusive session titled Enabling Business Agility and Performance with Next-Gen Private Networks. Joining us today is our esteemed speaker, Mr. Mitesh Bharwada, Vice President of Product Management at Lightstorm. With over 2 decades of experience, Mr. Mitesh has led transformative product strategies, driven innovation across industries, and built technology partnerships that deliver long term business value. We're truly honored to have you with us today, sir. Thank you for joining us. Before we begin, here are a few quick announcements to keep things exciting. We'll be hosting a Q&A segment towards the end of the session. If you have any questions during the talk, feel free to drop them in the chat box and we'll try to take as many as possible. And there's a surprise. The person who asks the best question during the Q&A will receive a special prize. So make sure those questions keep coming. That's not all. Stay tuned till the end for our Spin the Wheel segment, where 4 lucky attendees will win exciting prizes. One gift voucher worth 2,000 rupees and 3 gift vouchers worth 1,000 each. So don't go anywhere. This session will be insightful and fun. Now, to take things forward, I'd like to invite Mr. Mitesh to lead us through today's conversation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Malika. Thanks for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and greetings from my side. Um, I hope uh, this hour that we spend together is useful for us, and it solves the purpose of you joining this webinar. Let me share my screen so that we can use these slides to move ahead. So, a very interesting topic. Uh, Enabling business agility and performance with next generation private networks. So, when this topic first came to me, and we were, trying to visualize, trying to understand how we deal with it, and what came to mind is when you need a network that can support agility for your business and can help improve the performance of your business. uh, Obviously, few things come to mind, which are the usual things, right? The network needs to be reliable, the uptime needs to be high, the latency needs to be low. But in today's context, more than anything else, the word that came to my mind was that the network needs to be really adaptive. Adaptive because business requirements and expectations from connectivity keep changing all the time, right? And so that's how I thought about constructing this discussion today. And what we'll do is, let me first run through the agenda. We'll start by discussing some of the trends of how we are seeing emerging connectivity trends in the enterprise networking landscape. Why are these trends requiring everyone to reimagine the way connectivity works? I also understand many of you may not be familiar with Lightstorm. We are relatively new in this space, so I'll spend some time explaining about Lightstorm, what we do, what we are about, and then I'll take you through what are the things that we do in a different way that can help enterprises design their networks such that they are conducive to business agility and help them improve the performance. I'll also give a demo of our platform. It's a self-serve platform through which you can build your own network, and then we'll discuss multiples of use cases and solutions that we offer. We'll follow it up with a round of question and answers. There are some exciting gifts to be had. Just what Malika told us some time back. So let's get started. Feel free to keep posting your questions on the chat window as we move along, so that Malika can take those questions and we can address them at the end of the webinar. Let's just rewind a few years and see how the data movement has been happening basically over the years. It started with server rooms in branch offices, in a headquarter location, in a regional HQ location, kind of a thing where data was stored, data was processed, fetched, etc. Then came the data centers, and then we started centralizing our data in servers that we placed at data centers, all the co-locations that we did, uh, and then the advent of cloud that changed a lot of things that we do as far as networking is concerned. No longer was all the data residing in enterprise locations. It was moving to the cloud. It was residing in public cloud networks, and the ability to fetch it anywhere, anytime, any device was actually started getting true, and it enabled a lot of digital transformation as we've seen in the last few years. And now the era is of AI, where the requirements are again changing very rapidly. Um you have some applications sitting in the cloud, some applications sitting in the data center, and all of those applications want to talk to each other, right? So the data movement has really been evolving rapidly over the years. From an overall market perspective, we see that cloud is growing at a compounded growth rate of 20%, 26% if you look at it from an India perspective. And AI is growing even rapidly, more than 2x the cloud growth. In fact, AI is aiding the cloud growth today, I would say. So what's happening, when you look at it from an enterprise perspective? So you typically have multiples of branch locations that are there with enterprises, which are relying on low bandwidth network to connect to multiple hubs, I would say, right? This could be a captive data center, or it could be a server setup hosted in a data center, or it could be a public cloud, or it could be an edge network. So the data is really becoming very disparate. Even the WAN that connects to the branch locations is becoming very hybrid. So gone are the days when enterprises just relied on MPLS as the most preferred mode of connectivity. Today, there is MPLS, there is internet over broadband, lease lines, point-to-point circuit, even cellular networks have become quite reliable as backup networks, right, to connect branch locations. So the WAN is also going very hybrid. And what we see, and with SD-WAN coming in, this network, which was typically a pain point, is more or less getting resolved, because SD-WAN gives you the leverage to have multiple networks connected onto the branch. It gives you the resiliency, redundancy, and also cost savings, because broadband is also becoming quite reliable these days, right? So this is more or less there. It will never get fully sorted, I understand, but it's more or less there. But what has become most critical now is this layer of network that you see on the top, which is the core network, I would say, which connects data centers, private cloud, public cloud, edge locations, key hub locations like HQs, etc. Right? This becomes a very critical part of the network backbone. And what we realized when we looked at this gap emerging is that there were still traditional modes of connectivity that were connecting this network, right? It was the same 99.5% uptime, it was the same latency, it was the same age old concept that you give me the location, I will do the feasibility, I will check how much bandwidth I can give you, etc., etc., right? That's not how a business critical high capacity network should be run. So there was a need to have a reliable and scalable backbone, which can be called as a network for the cloud. There was a need for enterprises to be able to connect to the cloud instantaneously and absolutely seamlessly. So that's the network for enterprise. And the customer experience with all the digital transformation being done had to be absolutely fantastic. So this was the need that was observed by Lightstorm, and that's how Lightstorm actually came into being. Now, when we look at this network, the need that I just mentioned, and you have a stagnant network, the legacy networks, where your requirements of your digital ecosystem are evolving so rapidly that these old networks will just not be able to survive. Even if they do, they will not be able to give you the performance or the agility that your business requires. Networks today need to be agile, scalable, secure, and ready for the cloud. If it has to live up to the digital transformation ambitions that enterprises have put on it, right? And that's where the niche area that Lightstorm gets into to help in the way these networks are created and managed. So let me briefly tell you about Lightstorm. So as a company, Lightstorm came into being in 2020. So it's just been about 5 years that we are in business. That's when we landed our first order, born during the COVID company, you can say, during COVID. That's when we landed our first order. Our first bunch of customers were the hyperscaler customers. When I say hyperscalers, I mean the likes of AWS, Meta, Microsoft, Google, etc. And we started our enterprise business in about 2022, when after building the network for hyperscalers, we decided to start using that same network that we had built for hyperscalers to serve enterprise requirements and address these emerging market gaps that I was talking about. So Lightstorm has both terrestrial and subsea fiber-based network which connects to data centers and clouds across India and Asia Pacific. We have operations apart from India. We have operations in Indonesia, Thailand, and we have subsea cables as well. We are experts when it comes to rolling out and managing digital infrastructure. We are also experts when it comes to running softwares. By software, I mean doing API integration with cloud service providers, with data center operators, and also running a network as a service platform, NAS as it is called. The platform is called Polarin, which is a instant gratification. It's a self-serve platform built for enterprises through which you can instantly create your own core network, manage it, and do changes on the network as and when required, with a lot of flexibility and scalability. I'll talk about it as we move along. Lightstorm is invested by a company called I Squared Capital. It's a PE firm based out of US. They specialize in infrastructure based investments, and as we speak, they have more than $34 billion of assets that they manage in more than 50 portfolio companies. Some of the companies where they've invested in digital infrastructure, I've listed them down. Lightstorm is one of them, and others being Cloud Kinetics, which is a cloud managed service platform, EXA and HGC, which are carriers in based out of Europe and Asia Pacific. So in the 5 years of operations for Lightstorm, where we stand today, we have deployed 1500 plus terabits of capacity already. And if you look at this 1500 terabits, it is something that overall a giant telco would have taken maybe a couple of decades or even more to build that kind of capacity. We have 30,000 plus kilometers of terrestrial fiber, 24,000 kilometers subsea fiber, 250 plus data centers connected globally. Within city, we offer a latency which is lower than 1 milliseconds. And in most of the traditional routes, our latency is lower by 30% compared to competition. So that's what I meant. The reliability part, the latency part, all that is more or less a given. Now, like I mentioned, when it comes to working with the cloud, we look at it on two dimensions. One dimension is creating the cloud. So Lightstorm today is at the foremost of cloud creation in India. So we've basically built the entire digital information highway on which cloud service providers like the AWS, Azure, Meta, etc., run their traffic. These are ultra reliable, high speed networks with state of the art equipment and managed services. And then on the same network that creates the cloud, we enable enterprises to use that network, and that we enable by the help of our network as a service platform, Polarin, which is an on demand self serve platform which helps you create your own core network in real time with very flexible pricing models. Let's spend some time on Polarin. And as I said, this is India's first network as a service platform. And when you say as a service, what do you mean by that? As a service means whenever you want it, pay for it whenever you use it, change it as per your requirements. right? It's absolutely that. So it's a self-serve platform that empowers users to design, scale, and run a seamless and elastic network between data centers, hybrid and multi-cloud. This will help you visualize what this actually means. We what we've done is we've basically built what we call a network fabric. The reason we call it network fabric, think about it as a mesh which is connecting multiple data centers, multiple cloud service provider locations, internet exchanges all over a single network. Now, in this mesh, all you need to do is get into the mesh, that is Polarin, and then you can connect your data center to any other data center, or you can do cloud to cloud connectivity, DC to cloud connectivity, connect to an internet exchange, host of things you can do by just getting onto that network fabric. Everything is software defined, everything runs on API integration, and hence it is self serve. So, unthinkable as it would sound a few years back, today you can deploy a high availability network in as much time as it takes to make coffee. So, it's highly agile, it's very scalable. One very important thing to understand here, and why we say it's very scalable, you need to consider that the enterprise network that we are talking about is built on top of the hyperscaler network. The hyperscaler networks run in terabits of capacities. So, bandwidth is something that is always available in abundance. And hence, there is no challenge on that. There is no need to do feasibility because we are talking mesh network over here. We are not talking last miles, we are talking data centers, we are talking cloud locations, etc. So that's what gives us that agility and scalability, and of course visibility. You get a lot more visibility compared to what we are traditionally used to seeing. For instance, we even give visibility on the number of flaps that are there on our network. We even give visibility on latencies, uptime, bandwidth utilization, etc. is a given. So there's a lot more that you can do and lot more that you can manage with Polarin. Okay, let's see how this changes life, right? From the agility perspective. Now, life without Polarin. You select your IaaS or cloud provider, you build a networking construct. Okay, this doesn't take much time. But then you select your network provider, you provision the cloud connectivity through the provider. That could take a few weeks to months because here there will be feasibilities that will be involved, contracting that will be involved. Here there will be physical connectivity that would happen, or even virtual connectivity that could take time. And then there are again configurations that need to happen with the cloud, and then the service is turned up. So we are actually talking at least 4 weeks or maybe couple of months for this to happen. But now life changes, right? You simply have to sign up on Polarin, select the cloud provider and select the cloud regions, enter your bandwidth, put some account ID that you would have been given from the cloud provider, and through API integration, Polarin will deploy the cloud connectivity and attach your VPC to the connectivity. And this all happens in a matter of minutes. So what are we looking at? How are things changing? Start from the contract terms. No longer do you need to get into long term contracts or locked in contracts. Of course, we have those options because reserved contracts always have some benefits, but you can now even get into pay as you go models. So if you need bandwidth for a short duration, or you need a spurt of bandwidth for some time, it can go on a pay as you go model as well. Capacity, you don't need to get into fixed and contracted bandwidth. We can get into an elastic bandwidth which will have a base component of bandwidth, and you can stretch it to the extent you require, right? It's actually user specified bandwidth. So gone are the days of inflexible terms, inflexible capacities. Absolutely simple to use. Everything works on self service model through web applications and APIs, and speed in terms of configuration and setting up the connectivity. I just showed you the chart, and I'll show you a live demo also in some time. So what can you do with when you have a platform like this, your hybrid and multi-cloud strategy suddenly becomes much more effective. How can it be more effective? Because today, let's say you have some application in a data center and other, let's say storage is in the data center and compute is sitting in the cloud, for instance, right? And you've done that connectivity. But tomorrow you say that no, storage I want to move from DC and take it to some other cloud provider, and you want to suddenly alter your strategy, that you no longer want to connect DC to cloud one, you want cloud 2 to connect to cloud 1. So how, in a traditional way that would have taken a lot of time, but here you can do it in a matter of minutes. So it keeps adapting the way you want. Latency is definitely optimized. There are cost savings that you get. I have a slide on that. I'll take you through it. I know it's very important to constantly show cost savings even as we grow our networks. You get the assurance of using private connectivity vis-a-vis public internet, easily meet your short-term high traffic needs due to the scalability that it offers, and of course use it as a redundancy and backup solution. So there's a lot of use cases, lot of things that can be done when you have connectivity literally at your fingertips. And I am again coming back to that word that I used when we introduced the topic of business agility and performance on the network, and that word was adaptive, right? You really need a network which can adapt to your requirements the way you want it and the instant you want it, if you want to achieve those objectives. And that's what Polarin is set to solve, that problem. So what are the areas where Polarin can help businesses to optimize and reduce their costs? First one, unlike traditional models that telcos offer, uh, have we do not bundle port with bandwidth. Okay, these are like separate elements of our service. And what that does is you can buy one port, and from that port you can create multiple virtual connections. Example being, let's say I buy a 10 gig port, and I have taken a 3 gig, or I buy a 10 gig port at a data center, and then I want 3 gig connectivity from that data center to another data center. So 7 gig of port capacity is still available. On that 7 gig of capacity, you can connect another data center, you can connect a cloud location, or you can simply use that balance capacity to increase your bandwidth whenever you require. So think of it this way, that 10 gig was there as a port and you have taken connectivity of 3 gig, because you know that there will be a month end or a quarter end, or a big billion day sale kind of a event, right? Where you will need probably 6 gig or you will need 7 gig. So you will need to increase bandwidth for that period. So this helps you do that. That's also bandwidth scalability that I mentioned. You don't need to keep over provisioning your bandwidth and pay for bandwidth that you are not going to use. Scale it when you need it. And pricing will be on a pay as you go model where you can pay on an hourly basis. So So take that example again, 3 gig of connectivity for 3 days, or let's say for 20 hours. I want that to increase to 5 gig, which means 2 gig I am scaling it up. So for that additional 2 gig, you will only pay for 20 hours, and you don't need to get into a over provisioned bandwidth contract. So that's a big optimization on cost. Of course, when you connect cloud locations on a private connection like a Polarin, instead of using public internet to connect to the cloud, your egress charges will go down by as much as 60%. And because of the way the underlying network that has been created by Lightstorm, our downtime is 90% lesser downtime. So instead of, let's say, getting a so we give an uptime assurance of 99.99, that is four nines within metros. Okay, vis-a-vis competition, which typically does three nines, 99.9. So you look at it as 90% lesser downtime compared to competition. And now just start thinking about the reduction that it has in terms of the resources that we deploy to manage this downtime: manpower, time, effort, and all other resources, right? That's also a cost saving. Fine. So I think enough of talking. You'll say, the proof of the pudding is in how it tastes. So what I'll do is I'll do a quick demo, a live demo of our platform Polarin, and I will try to show you how simple it is to connect two data centers. Okay, let's take a very basic use case of a DC to DC connectivity. All right. So I just logged into polarin.lightstorm.net using a user credential, and what I was saying is that there are different rights that can be given to different users within an organization. So you could have administrative rights, or you could have just viewing rights if you are just running. You just want to monitor the network, see how uh, things are working, etc. Or you can even have the create rights if you are to create the network, right? What we'll do is we'll do a use case. You can see all these use cases: cloud to cloud, DC to cloud, DC to DC connection, right? We'll do the simple one, as I said, DC to DC connection, and it tells you a schema, gives you a schematic of how what you will need to do, right? It will involve creating port at data center 1, port at data center 2, and then create a virtual connection between the two ports, right? That's a basic DC to DC connectivity. So let's get started. All right. So, okay. So for the account that I am using, there are a set of ports that have already been created. So you can select from there. Now, an interesting thing I will show you here is when you see this particular port, it's a 1 gig port, and it clearly shows you that zero point 0.5 gig of capacity is available on this port. So we can actually use a smaller capacity and again connect this port as well. That's what I meant when I said multi-service port. But yeah, today we'll create a new port. Let me do a Bangalore to Mumbai connectivity, and I'll take Nextra Bangalore. Okay, Nextra Bangalore. Okay, we'll have to name this port. Let me call it webinar 1. Let's take the capacity as 1 gig. I select the subscription term, no upfront payment. It will show me a pricing year. I can choose whether I want Lightstorm to do the cross connect for me or I will do it on my own. Let's say here I've already done that cross connect. So I will say use as A and port. Okay, now I go to next. This is the port that I have requested. And now for Mumbai, what I will do is I will choose entity data center. Okay, sorry, create new port. Okay, entity Mumbai, yes. And let me call this port webinar 2. Again, I'll make it 1 gig. I will select subscription for 12 months, no upfront payment, and I will use it as a B end port. All right, so I have created port A and port B. Now I have to create a virtual connection between these two ports. So here, let me call it webinar VC. I have to select the bandwidth that I want. Now the maximum that I can select is 1 Gbps, right? Which is the port capacity that I have. So I can select anything which is less than 1 Gbps. Let me select 400 Mbps. Okay, 400 Mbps. And now as you can see, you have option of pay as you go as a subscription term. So I'll take a 12-month reserved contract, no upfront payment. As I said, it will show me the pricing year. I go to next. My billing cycle is monthly. I can either upload a purchase order now itself, or I can promise to provide purchase order later, but that has to happen within 7 days. This is my billing profile that I had created when I signed up for the service. Accept the T&Cs and place the order. Okay, so it says virtual connection has been created successfully, and you can see the visualization here. Uh, this is awaiting deployment, and if we refresh this couple of times, maybe in a minute or so, it gets activated. So very simple process. Now, if you were to create a DC to cloud connection, what we would have done is we would have selected port 1 at the first data center, and we would have simply selected bandwidth that we require. We don't need to do two ports there, because at the cloud location, you don't need that. Lightstorm has already built NNIs with all these cloud providers. And then you need to enter your account ID that you have with that cloud provider. Okay, so it will configure in a bit. The meanwhile, maybe we can get started with the presentation and then come back and see what's happened here. All right. Let's now talk about some of the use cases that are very common, right? Some of the diagrams may look a bit technical, but I've tried to make them as simple as possible. So one challenge that we've seen, with many enterprise customers, many businesses that we talk to, uh, there is usually this reassurance that is there that we don't need to build redundancy on the cloud side. Not all of them think like that, but yeah, there are a few customers who were of the view that we don't need to build redundancy on the cloud side. But now we've seen, in just a week's time, we had outages with AWS, we had outages with Azure as well, right? And that's why I made this my first slide on the use case, because it's very important that we don't ignore the need for resiliency on the cloud side. It's not only a service provider's network that can go down, it's also the cloud provider's network that can go down. And and you know what? For instance, if you connect to a single port of AWS, then what is the uptime assurance that AWS gives? They don't give any uptime assurance. So you are actually running on zero SLAs. I actually had spoken to a customer about a year back, right? And they had built solid redundancy at the telco service provider's end, but they had connected to a single cloud location on a single device, thinking that this will never go down. Okay, of course, they've fortified their network now, but there are multiple ways in which you can build redundancy. I'm just shown two use cases here. So if you want to have 99.9% uptime on the cloud, then you will need to connect to two cloud on-ramp locations. So this could be a AWS Mumbai, AWS Chennai, right? And build two virtual connections. If you want a 4-9 kind of uptime on the cloud, then again two cloud on-ramp locations, but each on-ramp location will have two ports. So that way you can have 4 nines of uptime, and this obviously, of course, is the highest level of uptime that is possible. So multiple solutions that can be built on this. And again, as I said, on Polarin, this is all possible, enabling multi-cloud. So what we do is that when it comes to cloud connectivity, we deploy what we call virtual router. Now think of this as a compute instance that is reserved for the enterprise, and it is virtual, so it can be set up on any of the Lightstorm POPs which best serves the purpose. Let me explain with an example. Now look at this use case, right, where you have a virtual router to which we've connected Azure, Oracle, and AWS cloud. Now let's assume Azure is in Mumbai, no, Azure is in Pune, Oracle is in Mumbai, AWS is in Chennai. Okay. And there is a need for this business that the latency between Azure and Oracle should be the least. Then what we can do is we can place this virtual router in a POP in Mumbai itself, so that the traffic will come from Azure to virtual router and then to Oracle, and it will take the least amount of time. Now, if there was a need that between Azure and AWS the latency needs to be minimum, then I would have placed it in some different location, right? So that it helps in terms of those things. It also helps in building redundancies. So let's say you want to build redundancy on this network. Maybe I have one more virtual router and I replicate this entire network through a different cloud on-ramp location and then connect the two virtual routers. So that gives me that 4 nines kind of redundancy as well. So multiple use cases you can work using the virtual router. We can very easily do data transfer between applications. You can do cloud migration projects very easily, and very importantly, any AI driven transformation that you want to do, it can be done very easily. You can even connect this virtual router to a data center if need be, right? It is very, very flexible. This is a very interesting solution that we've designed specifically to help branch locations connect toward cloud and data centers. So what we do here, we call it Polarin Network Edge. So let's say these are the branch locations. This is the hub site, obviously, with some remote workers connecting to hub site. These are very usual enterprise circuits, right? And assume that they were using internet earlier to connect to the cloud or to data center, and then it has its own set of challenges, right? It's not fully SLA driven network. It is always a bit of best effort creeps in. It's public network, all said and done, even if you run an IPsec on top of it. And on top of that, you will have heavy egress cost that these guys will end up charging. So what we do is we create a firewall instance here at the edge of our network. Okay. And using this firewall instance, you can connect to Polarin over internet on the IPsec tunnels, right? So the entire network is then entire traffic that you want to send to a cloud or data center is aggregated here, and then we simply build virtual connections the way you want it, wherever you want it. So all the advantages of Polarin are extended to branch locations, and you need not only look at it from a data center based connectivity perspective. Even branch networks can connect to Polarin and then to cloud data centers and enjoy all the benefits that come with it. Okay. We will keep tying up with OEMs so that we can bring that same NAS flavor to this. So today we've tied up with Cisco and Checkpoint. So if you run a Cisco fire, you want to run on a Cisco SD WAN or a Cisco firewall, or you want to run on Checkpoint firewall, it's available on the platform, and this connectivity piece can be designed instantaneously. Here, of course, you have your own broadband or internet network that you have, right? Or you bring your own OEM partner. We just have to download an image of their virtual service on our network, and you are up and running. So this was a very interesting example of Polarin Network Edge, what I just explained. I just wanted to spend some time on this. So we had a global enterprise customer who was running AI, uh, for which they wanted connectivity between data centers and clouds. As you can see, there are data centers, and here you have three clouds, right? Uh, DC1 say is Bangalore, and DC2 is Hyderabad. Okay, and they have Cisco SD-WAN across the board. Okay, the problem that they were facing is that there was no Polarin in between. So this entire piece was connected to the data center, a very typical architecture, right, where you have cloud locations directly connecting to data centers. So what was happening is then when they were running their AI applications, and then there was some use case that they had for which they had to transfer data from one cloud to the other cloud. And what was happening is that the data was moving, let's say, from Mumbai all the way to Bangalore or all the way to Hyderabad and then to Pune. Okay. And obviously, the latency was very high. The cost was also very high because there were high capacity networks that they had built for catering to all these use cases. So, what the solution that we simply offered them was that you use PNE, we will create a Cisco SD-WAN virtual network function at the edge of our network, okay, in Mumbai. So, this we deployed in Mumbai, and these data centers were connected to uh, this virtual appliance, as were all these cloud locations. So now what happens is if he has to transfer the data from, let's say, Mumbai cloud to Pune cloud, he need not go all the way to Bangalore. You simply use a virtual connectivity that has been created in Mumbai, and you transfer that data. The cloud to cloud latency was reduced by more than 90%, and their overall cost of this network went down by about 20% when we deployed this solution for them. I can't name the customer because we don't have the permissions to do so, but it's a very interesting case study. All right, so that was a brief around how we run the show when it comes to enterprises. We have some testimonials from some of our customers. Cisco is not only a partner; they are also a customer of ours. Likewise, PhonePe, the entire UPI network that PhonePe uses multiples of gigs of bandwidth that they connect towards data centers and towards clouds. Most of it is sourced from Lightstorm. We've got multiple recognitions for the innovation that we've brought to the traditional connectivity product. And you can see most of these awards are around enterprise network transformation, infrastructure initiative, innovative product, startup of the year, again innovative products, outstanding catalyst, multiple such recognitions that we have got from very notable logos. And that's actually a true testament of what we do. All right, so a lot of talking from my side. I hope this was useful, gave you some idea about how you can enable your network transformation, create agility for your business, and ensure business performance using private networks, next generation private networks, and more specifically now using network as a service rather than um network as a a long drawn uh, process. So that's it from my side. Malika, you want to take over, open the floor for questions?
Yes, sir. So thank you so much, sir, for that enlightening and insightful session. And we've received a couple of questions, and we'll just take them up now. So I'll start from the beginning. Mr. Anuj has a couple of questions for us. The first question is, when there is an overdose of ISPs, Airtel, Tata, Jio, and multiple others from mid segments, Tata Tels of the world, what differentiates Lightstorm with others?
It's the adaptive see, we've not talked about the infrastructure side of Lightstorm and how we are different from the infra perspective, so I won't dwell into those aspects. But just looking at the experience part of it and the adaptability that we talked about, the agility in terms of giving service, the ease with which you can scale, the flexibility in making payments, so that entire concept of network as a service is something that sets us apart from the traditional telcos or ISPs.
All right. So the second question that he has asked is, most of these service providers have back-to-back agreements with cloud providers or hardware vendors for synchronization of data. Does Lightstorm or Polarin has any back-to-back agreement so that there is a single point of contact?
Of course. So we have agreements with all the partners that we have. In fact, let me add, Anuj, that all the cloud providers, all the big four who are there, we are on their marketplace as well. Okay, and we are the only service provider on all these marketplaces. So you can actually go on AWS marketplace or Azure marketplace and buy Polarin connectivity from there itself. So, if it wouldn't be for a strong partnership and the trust that they have in our service, they would never allow us to be on their marketplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the third question from him is there any support center in India or channel partner network in India?
We have our own NOC and we have a full-fledged field team as well. So we have two NOCs. Our primary NOC is in Mumbai and our secondary NOC is in Noida. And both these NOCs work in active mode. I'm going a bit quick on the responses, Malika, so we can take as many questions as
Yeah, sure,
possible.
sir.
Yeah.
Sure. These were all the questions from Mr. Anuj. I hope you have got your answers, sir. Then we move on to Mr. Ghosh. He says that he's asking what is my yearly cost.
Uh, it depends on multiple things, what is the bandwidth that you have procured, what is the service that you have taken, a whole lot of things. So I can't give a clear single answer on it, except that I can say that it will be very, very competitive.
That's great. Okay, so Mr. Narendra here asks how different it is from AWS cloud to cloud migration.
Sorry, I didn't get that question. How different is it from AWS?
AWS cloud to cloud migration.
I don't know. When you say AWS cloud to cloud migration, I am not sure what you mean. I think what he means is uh, if I have to migrate data from one cloud to the other, how do I do it? So we simply use the virtual router device that I just talked about. It connects to both the clouds, and you can place that device wherever you want, and you can migrate data from one cloud to the other. And we also have pay as you go option. So once your migration project is over, you can turn off that bandwidth.
So I think he's got his answer. I'll move on to the next question. Anamala Hemakumar. He says that how do you maintain outages if fiber cut happened in ground level? Is there like any back-to-back connectivity on different parts?
Yeah, so within a city, there is at least three path connectivity between two data centers, minimum three path, and these are all on layer zero ASON. So uh, so it instantly switches over to the other path available, and between cities there is a minimum two path uh, connectivity which is there. So I think one question I just saw was on SLA, so that also leads us to the SLA. So within city we offer four nines of SLAs. I talked about it during my presentation as well. 99.99%. And between cities, we offer 99.7% SLA. That's best in the industry.
That's great. So I think Mr. Preetham has also got his answer. And we also have another question from Mr. Rajneesh. He says that, do you have multiple vendors at backend to maintain the connectivity?
Uh, we have vendors as well as we have our own field maintenance team. So it's a mix of outsourcing as well as our own team to manage the connectivity. There are field patrolling teams also which are there who keep riding on the path of the network to see if everything's fine, not fine. Our intercity network is not underground. We use OPGW or in simple terms, our cables are lying alongside the high tension cables that power distributors and electricity providers use. So we can see what if there is any cut that happens, it's visible. There are no pilferages. There are no accidents that happen on that cable, like digging and all that. So that's why we are able to give such a high uptime as well.
Yes, sir. So we have another question. It's from Mr. Yogesh. He asked, data center to data center, you had mentioned. How will we use this to connect to
I
branch?
read that. Yeah. So you can use the Polarin network edge that I had showcased to connect to the branch location. So your branch connectivity, Yogesh, would continue to remain, either broadband or leased line or whatever you are using today. But those branches, that traffic you can aggregate using IPsec or using SD-WAN to the nearest Polarin POP. And from that Polarin POP, you build connectivity the way you want, wherever you want, data centers, clouds, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, whatever. It gives you that flexibility.
Great. So I think we are done with the questions here.
Great.
So thank you for all those thoughtful responses, sir. And a big thank you to everyone who actively participated. So I'll quickly, we have another question. So do we have time to answer that question, sir?
Yeah, yeah, we will. No problem.
Perfect. So Mr. Preetham here asks, in the last mile, you are providing connectivity via any fiber chamber or nearby POPs?
So last mile will be through nearby POPs, Preetham. We don't do last mile on our own unless it's a major business camp or commercial campus that is to be connected. So if at all last mile is required and the customer wants us to do it, then we do third party arrangements with a telco and go ahead and do it. But our strength is not in the last mile. Our strength is in the core network connectivity.
So thank you so much for answering that question, sir. I will now be sharing a poll on your screens that you'll be getting right now, and you have the next 30 seconds to answer that poll. And you can cast your vote now. You have the next 30 seconds to cast your vote. Thank you so much, everyone, for casting your vote. All right. So now we have the winner for the Q&A segment. So congratulations, Mr. Anuj. You are the winner for the Q&A segment. You can reach out to our team later on for claiming the prize. Yeah. So now it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's spin the wheel and see who our lucky winners are. So our first winner is Mr. Anwar Sheikh. Congratulations, sir. Let's move on to our second winner. Mr. Vijay Kumar, congratulations. Let's move on to our next winner. Congratulations, Mr. Vinod. And our final winner. Congratulations, Mr. Uday Kumar Patil.
Excellent. Congratulations, all the winners. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you taking time out and participating in this webinar. I hope it was worthwhile for you, and we look forward to interacting with some of you in days to come.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this brings us to the end of today's session. It's been a fantastic discussion on enabling business agility and performance with next-gen private networks, helping businesses build a faster, more secure, and connected future. A heartfelt thank you to our speaker, Mr. Mitesh, for sharing such valuable insights, and to all our attendees for joining in and making this session truly engaging. So this is Malikarya signing off on behalf of India IT 360 and Lightstorm. I am now sharing a QR code with all of you, and you all are requested to kindly scan it and give your valuable feedback to us. So you are requested to kindly scan it. Thank you everyone for joining in, and I hope you have a wonderful evening ahead.